Hi there, it's October 7th, and after a few days off for the Thanksgiving weekend and traveling up to Ottawa to see my granddaughters and my son and daughter-in-law, I'm back in the garage, and I'm disassembling the front suspension now. Of course, there's always a bolt or a nut that won't loosen whenever you're trying to take something apart, and then I've come across this oddity on both of the lower wishbone components at the front, in that on this, which is the right hand side, the left hand side front, you see this bolt here, it's too long to actually extract from this space. So it must have been assembled that way at the factory. So the whole lower wishbone assembly and the brackets must have been put together, because there's no way to feed that bolt in there and then put the nut on. So this really, the bolt should be going through this way and the nut should be on this way, as it was on this side. So again, with the bolt coming from the outside here and then the nut being on the inside. So the same thing is on the right hand side of the car, and so you can see here on the rear portion the bolt is going to be captured in here. There's no way to get it out, whereas on the front portion, again, bolt goes in this way and that's on this side. So yeah, these must have been put together in the factory. So what I'm going to have to do is to remove the entire mounting. A little too dark to actually see the bolt that's in there. Maybe on the other side you can see it. Oh yeah, I've got the socket on it right now. So I'm going to have to take those whole assemblies off in order to finish the disassembly. And of course, remember to put it together the right way. Of course, that might be a little bit easier because there's really only going to be one way to do it when I put it back together. Anyway, frustration of the morning. Alright, I'm still disassembling this lower wishbone. Right now this is the right hand side one. And I've just come across something really strange. Not sure if it's noticeable there, but it looks as if that bolt that holds that section of the lower wishbone was factory welded to the outside of that of the hanger. It took a hell of a lot of pounding to loosen the bolt, and again, it looks like it was a factory weld. So that's bizarre. I don't know how you would ever be expected to replace the bushings on that component if that whole thing is welded in there without taking the whole thing right off the frame, which is kind of a ridiculous notion. So I think the other side is like that too, because I've been trying to loosen the bolt on the lower wishbone on the other side and nothing's working. I can't move it with, doesn't matter how much penetrating fluid I put on it and how long I've waited. Now I haven't got heat to put on it, so because I don't have an oxy-acetylene torch or anything like that, so I guess I'm going to have to do the same thing as this side, which is take it right off the frame and inspect it and probably just pound the crap out of it to get it off of there. Luckily it's nothing more than a little tack, but it's keeping it from moving. Anyway, back to the salt mines. Hey there. It's Friday, October 13th, and I'm not triskaidekaphobic, thank goodness. But I am working at stripping everything off the frame. As you can see from this shot, I've got all the front suspension components off. There's a couple of minor issues there, which I've already talked about. And now I'm moving towards the back. I got the right-hand side wishbone and assembly off, and now I'm working on the left-hand side. And just like on the right, this long bolt down here through the wishbone, let's get some light on that. So the long bolt way down here that goes from one side of the wishbone to the other, and through the vertical link, that's frozen on both sides. So that's going to have to be cut off somehow. There's been a couple of hopeful suggestions, and I'm going to try. I don't know whether I'm just going to try going straight to cutting or whether I'll try some heat, but those have to come out. Then the other part on this side, to just make matters a little more frustrating, this bolt here through the single connection on the upper part of the wishbone, the upper part of the lower wishbone, the inboard part of the lower wishbone, whatever it's called, that is also frozen in its bushing. So I'm just about to get out the angle grinder with my thinnest cutting blade on it, and I'll probably cut just inside there. There seems to be a bit of a gap where I can see some of the old rubber bushing showing, enough to maybe get a cut in there, and then I can take this part of that bolt head out and drift the rest out, I hope. And then at least I can get that off the car and then onto the bench where I can start working on the other disassembly of all the other subcomponents, like the trailing arm, because of course that one's frozen too. Anyway, other than that, the other thing is I've been looking at the cost of the Rotoflex donuts. Wow! Aside from it being very difficult to find the originals, those metallastic ones, when you do find them at, say, Rimmer's, expensive, like 220 pounds right now. And that's each. So when I looked at the price of the CV conversion, the kit for the CV conversion is at about, I think, $425. So I think that's probably the way I'm going to go. That's $425 for both sides. So really, by the time you buy one set of the original metallastic donuts, you've already spent as much as you would on the conversion. And from what I've been reading, if you don't go with the metallastic ones, you're going to be taking this apart and redoing the Rotoflex, every 5,000 or 8,000 kilometers. But I have no desire to do that. So I think, as it stands, I'm probably going to go for the conversion kit. I don't know whether I'm happy or sad about that. I think it is what it is. So I'll just have to live with that. Anyway, that's where I am. I'll come back if there's any success in getting that lower wishbone disconnected. All right, bit of a milestone now. It's about, what time is it? I think it's about 6:15, something like that, on Friday night. And I have finished taking everything, and I mean everything, off of the frame. So differentials off, even the cross plate for the transmission mount is off, and I've started to do a little bit of scraping to get some of the grease off. The grease has done a fabulous job of preserving the original, I guess what I'm presuming is the original primer in many places. There's a bit of rust on some places, that outrigger there, a little bit there under the rad mount, and then as you move further back, then when you get right into the chassis section under the seating area, then yeah, there's more rust. Back here, there's a couple of little issues. I probably should have shown this while I had it upside down a few minutes ago, but let's see if I can show you right now. Get a little bit of light on it. Here on the back right, looks like there's been a bit of abuse from something, I don't know what. This is about where the short axle comes through from the differential to the Rotoflex, and it looks either as if there's been, well, there's two different things going on. One is you can see that this mounting point at the back, this one right here, has been deformed pretty significantly, and then here this has been caved in. It's dished down a couple of inches almost, especially when you compare it to this side, where you can see that there's no concavity there, and then the mount is fine. The other thing I can see is on this top portion of the I don't know what this is called, the transverse section. In any case, there's a little bit of deformity here. Now, I don't know whether that's something I should be able to pound out. A little bit of hammer and die work, or hammer and I can't remember the name of this. The hammer dolly work, or whether that's something that might have to be replaced. Hopefully, it's just something that I can hammer out. That, I don't know. It doesn't. I think I'm going to have to take some measurements to see if this thing has been deformed in any significant amount. So, anyway, that's where I am with that. That was a little bit of a surprise, but hopefully it's not going to be an insurmountable thing. But anyway, the nice thing is now that I've got all of that, all of the suspension and everything else removed, I'm ready to start cleaning this up a bit. So I'll get the wire wheel to it, and then maybe see if I can find a bit of some source close by that I can get some Core 15 to paint this before cold weather sets in. We've got some nice weather coming up next week, so maybe if I put a push on that, I can get that done, and then I can maybe even roll it out of here and cover it up somewhere the front of the driveway for the winter. Oh, and I don't know if you can see them there. I got a couple of shed cats, mom and one little kitten. Their kitten is romping around there on the pile of garbage that I have to pick up and put together and take to the dump. Anyway, so that's it for tonight. Might get back out here tomorrow, and I don't know what I might just try tackling some body tub stuff just as a change of pace. Anyway, have a good Friday the 13th, everybody. Very cautious of me, but not running away.